Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Sugar-Free Self-Care TV. On today's episode, I have a super special sugar-free edition here, never done before, but I'm so excited to bring on my client and fellow coach, Andrea Scott. Oh my goodness. So Andrea is also a fellow low-carb coach, and she has been my client for the past few months, and working with her has been such a joy. I wanted to bring her on to help teach us about a little bit more about coaching, what life coaching and weight loss coaching is like, what it's like to be coached, and what it's like to be a coach. So thank you so much, Andrea, for joining us today. I'm so excited to have you. Yay!
I'm excited to be here.
Yes, I'm so happy you were brave enough to come on. So Andrea, tell us a little bit more about yourself. Where are you from and what do you do exactly?
Okay, my name is Andrea Scott. I live in Winnipeg, Manitoba. I am a registered social worker, have been for the last, I want to say over 20 years now. And more recently, really following my passion of coaching and working with people with weight loss, namely low carb, healthy fat, and working with folks to get their results that they are looking for with the low carb, healthy fat lifestyle.
Ooh, I love it. So you're not working, but you're working as a social worker still, or you do both? I just want to clarify.
Well, it's interesting in the sense of social work. There's integrated parts of life coaching in and of itself. So yes, I still have the title of registered social worker, but I'm a registered social worker, counselor, coach, consultant.
You do it all.
We try. We try to. But yes, so it encompasses many parts, and especially the life coaching piece, because we all need that, right? So, yeah.
All right, that's awesome. And Andrea, I'm curious, I know you mentioned life coaching, and as I said earlier, I'm a life coach. You do life coaching as well. Can you just define what it means to be a life coach, or what that means to you?
Well, what that means to me is that we all have times in our life when we kind of run into a particular issue, and maybe we've exhausted all of our own thinking and all of our own kind of attempts to work through situations. And what the opportunity for coaching does is it gives the person a chance to sit down and have someone else be a witness to the conversations that they've been having in their own minds around the circumstances. And then we get to pull apart and pick out some of those very strong thoughts and then break them down.
Yeah, and that can be so powerful. It's really helping someone see their mind, seeing those stories or limiting beliefs that might be holding them back.
Absolutely.
And I'm curious, just to help clarify this for the listeners and watchers too, what is the difference to you? Because you have some history in mental health, working in mental health. Like, how do you distinguish, like, say, when someone should see a life coach versus seeing a therapist?
Well, the life coaching aspect of it is more likely for people who've gone through some of their own processes and perhaps gone through a little bit of counseling and analysis on maybe some of the deeper life issues that they've had, perhaps a trauma, things that need and require a little more depth and time to sort through. And also if someone has had a history of having depressive feelings, anxiety that have become so difficult to manage that they need to have some more intervention to possibly add medication. Sometimes that's very important to help someone be able to calm the system enough to be able to think a little more clearly. So there are definitely those times when the acuteness of some of the symptoms need to be regulated and stabilized first.
Right.
So that's very important in the mental health aspect of it.
Right. So definitely they might need more of a comprehensive treatment approach. They might also need medications and probably deeper dive into therapy and probably trauma, different sort of therapy
Yes.
styles that might be more specific for your needs.
Yes, 100%.
Right. And so I'm so curious about you, Andrea. What interested you into becoming a coach? Why did you do that?
Well, I think after working in the mental health field for that many years, I think what I was noticing more about myself was I had come to an impasse about I'm working in mental health, but I had a passion and a sense of wanting to go in a different direction. And I wasn't 100% clear, but then I had an opportunity to really sit down and have a conversation with myself and say, you know, what is it that you really want to do? And for me, I wanted to work with prevention and wellness more than anything else, because I saw the value and wanting to help with education around the fact that we can prevent a lot of situations that actually spill over into the mental health or illness model, if you will. So I think that for me, I felt like the message I needed to start bringing out was more about prevention and wellness and empowerment, and teaching people that we don't have to wait until we get to the most acute stages to get help. And I think, unfortunately, there's a stigmatization that goes with mental health.
Oh, yeah.
And the difficulty with that is I believe sometimes it keeps people from reaching out sooner. So I really had a passion and a desire to work with people to empower the prevention and wellness piece before we had to get to the illness focus. And for me, that's become my passion. And coaching is perfect for that.
Yeah.
Perfect. Because we can look at it from a lens of solution focus and more of a brief treatment type model. So for me, that was like the piece de resistance.
Yeah, I love that. And it's so true. Working in the mental health field, it's such a different model. I feel like it's a lot more acute. It's all about a lot more of acute stabilization and a lot more medication based. Yeah. It's not so much about prevention. And especially us, like me working in the hospital, you also having mental health experience, that model just did not mesh well with me either. And so I think that's awesome that you also kind of listened to your intuition and knew that you wanted to help people in this way of prevention to really help people make that lifestyle change. And so what kind of clients do you work with, and what kind of solutions do you help them come up with?
I would say now my more target audience are women. And I would say more over the age of 30 that are looking to ditch the diets and have had enough of the deprivation, restriction, self-loathing, critical voice telling them that they're not enough, that they'll never be good enough, that you know, you've blown it and it's all or nothing, and that whole black and white picture. And I think that that's where the emphasis of my work is going to be for the next while. And I'm excited to say that too, because I too am on my journey, and we can talk about that as well. But I think that that is my passion, is to set the record straight that, look, nobody's broken here. And coaching gives you, I love that, because it's growth oriented. Coaching is growth oriented. It's personal development. And it's saying we see both sides. We see strengths, we see opportunities, and we are still a holistic, whole person worthy of everything we came to this life to get.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm getting goosebumps. I love that.
Well, isn't it time, everyone? You know, I mean, yeah, no more shortchanging yourself and thinking, you know, that's the unfortunate problem, is that sometimes there's such a, like, again, the stigmatization that you're broken if you have a mental health issue or, you know, but is it, or is it just life situations that we all have? It's called the condition of being human.
Right.
We're human beings. And with that will be problems and things to solve. There's
Always.
nothing broken, there's really nothing broken other than, we just need to take a look at something and have someone help us through it. And coaching is perfect. And I was thinking about it as I was getting ready for the interview, and I was thinking, what do coaches do? Coaches help you get back in the game. Right? After the game, what do? They show on a screen the instant replays or the replays of the whole game, and then they help you work through them.
Right.
That's what we do.
Right. And I love that you are really focused on helping women, especially see that they're not broken. Because I know, just especially, we've been so conditioned to think that weight is our worth. It's the only thing that determines our value. There's nothing more to us than how we look, how our bodies are. So that's been such a painful, sort of lifestyle for so many women who are trying to lose weight. So I'm curious for you, what was your own personal journey like going into this journey of self-care and wellness for yourself? What were you wanting help from when you looked for coaching from me? And what did you learn about yourself in your journey? And what are you learning about yourself right now?
Well, I am grateful every day. And I'm so glad that we had the opportunity to be working together and to be coached by you, because, the thing that I must say is, yes, of course, I have my own journey. I think sometimes to be effective at what we do have that understanding of what another person will go through. And I think that it's really important that as a coach, I need to be coached as well. I need to have an understanding of what I'm asking other people to do and what they will be going through in the sense of process with problem solving and building a life that they really want, right? So for me, yes, there's a very personal journey here, and certainly brought up with a whole lot of messages that it's only what you look like that matters. It's only the external and, the years of dieting. And I think even from, I want to say age of 8 years old, I was taken to, I believe at the time, I think it was called Take Off Pounds Sensibly at 8.
Pounds Sensibly?
Yeah, Take Off Pounds Sensibly at age 8.
Was it for kids?
No, it was not for kids.
Oh, okay.
And
wow.
Okay. No, but this is, but that's okay, because this is where we have the honest dialogue and we talk about, some of the things as women we've gone through in the name of perfection, which is an illusion and baloney anyway. But the thing is I, grade 3, my mother was taking me to Take Off Pounds Sensibly. And the funny thing is I look back at that now, and that little girl, she was growing. She had some extra fat on her body, but she was also growing and changing.
Right.
And she was outside playing, as a matter of fact, when she got called to go to Take Off Pounds Sensibly, which she was doing what an 8-year-old child should do. So for me, I could go into many different aspects of that whole journey, but I will say that this is part of the passion that I have, because one of the things that I think we miss out on along the way as women is because we sink so much of that self-worth into that external, that other parts of our loveliness don't get developed as richly as they deserve. And I'm really all about the experience of life. And I crave that sometimes more now than I think, many things like just when you think about the cravings that we have in life. And I think you had posted something really cool today about cravings and what do you really want?
Right.
And I thought to myself, wow, that's a potent question. I love the question. What do you really want? And it's funny how, when you've been kind of diverted off your path of development, you get yourself into this whole rut and routine with your brain, and you're thinking about, that's the only thing I'm worth, there's nothing else. Well, let me tell you, there is much, much more. And while, I love the idea of working with the weight loss and coaching, I also encourage people to start thinking creatively about who they are too. What are the things you'd want to be doing right now if weight wasn't on your mind 24/7?
Oh, I love that question.
No, what would you be doing? Because you need to start doing it.
Right.
Let's not wait. Let's not wait. And I say that pun intended. Let's not wait.
That's so cute. I love it.
Let's not wait. The wait is over, you know? Yeah. So anyway.
So that's amazing. I think you brought up such a good point. Like, we think it really is that all or nothing. I hear that all the time. Not like from a lot of clients, a lot of women bring this up, that it's like kind of black or white thinking. And so you're right. They kind of miss out. Like, self-care is a very foreign thing to so many women, because we don't spend the time to actually think about what we do want, like what we do desire, what we do enjoy. And I think part of it really is like, we spend so much energy on the weight, on the looks. We think that that's the only form of joy. Like, when we get there, when we're thin, we'll be happy. So I'm curious for you, what have you discovered maybe about yourself? Like, when weight wasn't the forefront of your mind, what did you discover about yourself? And did coaching help you discover anything with this also for you?
Well, I think, you know, it really opens up your mind to really stop and consider those things. You know, what would I be doing if I wasn't dwelling on perfection and chasing after it?
Right.
Right. And some of the limitations we put on ourselves, because, you know, that, as you said, when I get to this weight, I will. Will what?
That's a good question.
Yeah, and that's what I would really, you know, if I leave nothing else in this life, is to know that, you know, don't wait again, to do the things that you want to do and learn about yourself. And if that wasn't something that was fostered into you growing up, this is a chance to actually work with yourself in a more compassionate way.
Yeah.
And to ask ourselves very much the questions of, what do I want and what do I need?
Yeah.
Some of us, and some of us have not. You know, I talk a lot about, and this is a very passionate subject to me, is adverse childhood experiences, and how they sometimes have limiting impacts on the development and interest and curiosity of children. Basically because they're kind of pushed back to the survival part of the brain in trying to survive very difficult situations. Yeah. So I would say, like, again, I think that part is very exciting to me when I hear people talking about their goals and their non-scale related goals, and being able to be a witness to encourage. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And how they can both go hand in hand. I mean, to feel better about, you know, to feel better in your health and where you want to be, but also that you can also add in and integrate other goals that are important to you and things that you want to learn. And I would say, you know, you were asking me the question about what did I learn and all of that. And we've had some really interesting conversations with our coaching, and man, do I ever look forward to the week to week where we're like, okay, it's Charmaine time. Charmaine time. And so we got our opportunity to talk out some of the strong thoughts that I had. And, you know, some of my own limitations were, I think we were talking about coaching. And, you know, the funny stories we tell ourselves about why we can't do certain things. And I don't know about you, Charmaine, but I don't know how many times I've told myself personally that I can't do something because I don't weigh a certain weight, or I don't, you know, there was always some reason, there was always some, you know, and it always had to do with the external appearance, right? So I was like, it was relieving to me to know and to really work with you really strongly on those points and really challenge that thinking. But what I like about how you do that is you bring people in with a very compassionate observational lens, not a judgment lens. You know, you have that empathy that helps a person sit with some of those thoughts and feelings and to look at the pain, to feel the pain, and to know that that pain will pass like a wave.
Right.
And that's okay. I mean, that's the beautiful part about sitting with someone who is in a position like yourself as a coach, who can help you to understand what those waves of pain are, but that they mean that you can do hard things. You can withstand that. You can understand it to the best of your opportunity, and you can actually move forward from it. It doesn't have to paralyze you like it may have in the past. And you have a person in standing in the gap with you. And that's what I love about coaching, is because it's that person. You stood in the gap for me. We worked on issues. You were my witness to hear what I had to say and to help me challenge some of the thinking that I had. But the way that you did it was from a position of unconditional caring support. And that to me is the vitality of coaching.
Oh, I love that. You're so eloquent. You just said that so beautifully. But I think, it's true though. Like, first of all, thank you for all those kind words. I really appreciate that.
Well,
And I think that's part of the beauty of growth and being in your own wellness journey is a lot of people don't want to like actually write down what they're eating or write down their thoughts because they have a big fear of what will come up for them. They feel like if they're face to face with their thoughts, all the judgments, they think it's going to be very overwhelming and they can't handle it. So this is why having a coach really is helpful in those times where you feel this fear about your own negative thinking. And so having someone there that's showing you it's okay, you can get through it. They are like, thoughts are just the story, like they're sentences in your mind. They're thoughts that come and go. They don't have power over you until you allow them to, or until you engage with them. So I think for myself too, having that space, having a coach see that for me was very empowering. And I think, I think it's awesome that you did still agree to coaching, even if you had so many doubts, even if you had so many fears, because it's a very vulnerable place. It's like, you're telling someone all your honest thoughts. And I think that's such a crucial part of weight loss, like being willing to be honest with yourself, and not just with yourself, but with a coach. And then there's like the fear of judgment of yourself and the fear of the judgment of the coach. And then there's a lot going on, but it's a big thing. But I love that during our journey together, you really were courageous in being vulnerable, and you just told me exactly what you're feeling, and you allowed yourself to be open. And I think that's so important, like when you're coaching, to allow yourself to be honest with yourself and the coach for that transformation to happen. So I think you did a great job with that.
Well, the funny thing is when you think about that too, it's like, yes, it is a position of trust. You're sitting in a position of trust as a coach. And what I say to people is, look, you know what? I'm not here to judge what you're eating. I'm here to help you to learn more about who you are in this journey. And you know what? Just tell yourself the truth and know that I'm here for you and I'm not judging this, and you don't have to judge yourself either. If we don't tell ourselves the truth, it's hard to see where we need to work on some things. And it doesn't mean that we're weak or don't have willpower or that food is good or bad. It has nothing to do with that. It's about just allowing yourself to see what you need to see to help you move forward. And that's fair. And that's all we could ask for anyone. And sometimes you just got to downright embrace the suck of some of the things that happen too, right?
Right.
So, you get that opportunity with your coach. And like, again, it is a position of trust. And I certainly don't take that lightly. And I know that you don't either. And yet I knew that when I sat and I was able to tell you a couple of things, and it's like it opened up a new realm of understanding for me. So don't be afraid to talk to your coach. A good coach knows how to stand in the gap with you, knows how to hear you, and knows how to, work with you and work with the resistances and keep bringing you forward.
Right.
But it is a collaborative, co-active effort. That is for sure.
Right. Right. It's not just someone telling you what to do and then you obey like
No.
yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
Yes. No.
Master. Yes.
No, and I think what's so cool about it is because it is so individualized. I mean, it is important for once it does get to be about you. It gets to be about you, and it gets to be about the things that you actually, and you and I have talked about this before. It's like, people will get to a goal and sometimes they'll take different paths. It's not wrong. It's just that for some people, there will be a different path or a different choice along the way that will, be more inspirational or more aha to them than it would be for somebody else. Doesn't make it wrong, just makes it a different path. That's all.
Right.
And you and I had that conversation about, the low carb and some of the other formats and stuff. So, I mean, I think that's important too, that we recognize the beautiful part of being unique and individual is we get to learn about ourselves. And in that, the answer already lies. Your plan, your path already lies there. So it's just cool to see it come out in someone.
Yeah. Yeah. And and seeing really learning more about yourself, what your individual needs are, it's so important because it just helps reflect for you like, oh, this is really what I want. And I think having, especially a woman, like having a woman really know what she wants to eat, that so much of that is clouded by diet thinking. It's like we're always told by food companies and diet weight loss programs, like this is what you should eat, this is what you should do. So I think I love that the individualization of it just helps someone really get to know who they are, and then make choices that are best for themselves and trust themselves to do that.
And that's a huge part of it, the trust aspect of
Oh
it.
yeah.
I mean, that just, again, that comes back again, right? You're trusting a coach to stand in the gap with you, but you're also learning how to trust yourself and know that it's okay, that, for all the diets and all the things you've ever been told, that if you would do it this way, and then all the corresponding conversational tidbits that you got when you didn't do it right was, well, you just don't want it bad enough. You're not working hard enough. Well, you're not doing it this way. Well, this is what this is all about. This is about being able to take, in this case, low carb, healthy fat, and it is a very powerful tool. Real food is a powerful tool, but it means that we also have other little choices along with it too, and that we can modify based on our own needs, and it's okay.
Yeah.
Yet I love the powerful tool of real food. So we have coaching that takes, the stigma out of wellness or mental health. And then we have real food that strips down all of the nonsense and the junk of the other stuff. And it brings it together as a powerful tool for the mind-body connection, right? Because where the body, where the mind goes, the body follows.
Yeah.
So it's such a powerful tool. And I kept saying, this is such a powerful tool, because what I love about the low carb healthy fat is that it helps. Real food with all the nutrients gives your body the fuel it needs to slow down that impulsive roll.
Oh yeah.
and helps you to be able to think more clearly, so that your body and your brain are working together and getting you more of what you do want, yet it's respectful intuitively of what each person will need to get there.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's awesome. I love that you brought up the real food aspect of it too, because that is what I think what we both teach, like having real food will help you. Right. Like having real food will not only help to stabilize your hunger and things like that, but it really just helps you see that you can appreciate natural pleasures. You could really appreciate your food, but then also it just helps you get in more tune with your body and your true hunger and how that feels like for you. So I think it's an amazing tool. along with the mindset. So I think that's great you brought that up.
Mhm.
So my question for you too is, so what was it like for you? What was, I guess, the number one thing that you took from a coaching experience, like working with a coach? Like, what was the number one takeaway that you got from it? And what would you recommend to anybody who's trying to look for, who's getting ready to be coached?
Don't be afraid to commit yourself to a coaching plan.
Okay.
Don't be afraid of it, because I think the difficulty sometimes with that is that as we've been conditioned to diet, and I've heard this several times and I've done it myself, that feast before the diet, the Last Supper mentality,
Yeah. Last Supper.
Because, the breaks are coming on. I'm never going to have this again. I better get out to Pizza Hut, Red Lobster.
Gotta go.
And wherever, fill in your favorite spot. When the truth is, the beautiful part about this process is we take smaller steps.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually give people a little bit of a heads up. Don't worry about trying to fit in all of the foods you think that you're never going to have again, because we're taking this a little bit at a time, and you don't have to worry about that. And we're going to just, again, take it a little at a time. You don't have to rush out to get the Last Supper in. And we're going to actually learn how to add in, like you say, Charmaine, and I love this word that you've termed, joy eat. To have a joy eat.
Yeah.
And to look forward to it and not be afraid of it. I couldn't, and I will back this up and say, I can't believe how much power and fear I had over like allowing food to run me around.
Oh, yeah.
And if I have to say anything, that was a lot of, like, some of the conversations we had was, oh, a piece of cake is actually just a food that we eat sometimes.
Imagine that.
In my mind, it was like, the Wizard of Oz, when everybody's like, ooh, who's the wizard? Wow, what's gonna happen? And Dorothy, and they all get up to the curtain and they pull it back, and there he is, this little guy sitting on this projection. It's like he was on a projection stool and he was this great big image, but all it was an illusion.
Oh, yeah. Tell us
it was an illusion.
So, like, what do you mean by the illusion? Like, because
the illusion is we make it bigger than it really is, because we've been so used to feast or famine, all or nothing. I can never have this again. So it becomes bigger than it needs to be. That piece of cake, like, sadly became bigger than, some of the things that should have been more important than a piece of cake. Let's put it that way. So that piece of cake became the wizard sitting on the stool, being this big, bright, flashy, scary, omnipotent thing that really was nothing but a piece of cake and a man on a stool with a big projection, image going on. So,
yeah. Did you notice that for yourself? Like, when you had the joy eats, did they not turn out like what you thought it would be?
Well, it's funny. And again, the part is that when we kind of idolize or glamorize something, we give it sometimes way more credit than it actually is. And I can tell you, honestly, some of the joy eats that I had, and I would have a piece, most often it was a piece of cake, probably still is a piece of cake, but that's okay. But it's like there were times when I could have some of it and then just simply wrap it up and put it away. Wow. Without a big fight and fuss and, give me a big gold star. Like, really, I could just wrap it up and put it away and say, oh, okay. It becomes less when we don't make it more.
Yeah. Right. And also when we allow ourselves to have it, because I feel like the binge eating the deprivation comes from when we say, I can't have it, it's forbidden, then that's where the sort of
yes,
deprivation comes. And then when you have the deprivation, then you kind of want to rebel and hide.
Yeah, of course.
Binge. Yeah.
Of course. And I think at the root of it all is that we all want to be making our own decisions. And as adults, and rightly so, it makes sense. We will fight to make the decision more than anything else, you know?
Right.
So if we take the big fight out of the equation and say, sure, you can get a piece of cake this week. When will you plan for it? When are you going to have it? You know, how much are you going to have? And then it's like, it sort of takes the glamour and the glimmer off of it. It's just not that important and not really that big of a deal. I'm not saying that I don't enjoy it sometimes still, but it's not like I'm living my life every day for the minute when the clock strikes 3 when I can have my piece of cake. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's how it feels sometimes. So you're like, oh, this is the last cake I'll have on earth. You're like watching the clock like, oh my God. You know, but it does feel like that though.
Oh, it does. And you know what? Like, I think, you know, if that wasn't, you know, again, learning how to find the sweet spot of life. And I think that is a term that I love these days is let's find the sweet spot of life. That means that you're not making, you know, it so important that it takes over your life, but that you can allow for the occasion when you want to have something and be like everyone else who's having something and not make it like grand larceny, like you're doing something so illegal and so wrong.
Right.
You know,
right.
that they're going to come looking for you.
But that's so funny, but you bring that up, like people eat this stuff every day and don't even give a second thought. They just eat it and they live their life because they give themselves the choice. So I love that, like the deprivation goes away when you give yourself the freedom to have it. You have that trust in yourself and you decide for yourself as an adult what you can have.
In fact, I said, should I really be having this, Joy?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we actually had a full-blown conversation on that. I think I texted you one day. I'm like, I'm not sure if I should really eat this.
I've gotten a lot of conversations about Joy eats like that.
I'm not really sure.
Am I allowed? Are you sure? Do my parents know?
Yeah. I mean, and I think that's the one thing too, is that, you know, talk about, you know, learning how to trust yourself and learning how to embrace the fact that you can make choices. You can make choices and you have choices all the time. You and I were talking about that one day and I said, and you said, well, you always have a choice. And it's like, yeah, you know what? You always do have a choice. So you don't have to look at something and say, well, I can't have that. I'm on this program and I can't. Well, you know, the reality is you can have it. You actually can. And I think when you start to own things in that person-centered, empowered way of, yes, I could have that. And you know what? Maybe I'll think about it and maybe I could have it as a Joy Eat some other time. I don't know. Or if I do have it now, I just recognize what will come with it afterwards, likely, and just own it. Just own it like a rock star. You know what I
like that. Own it like a rock star.
Just own it like a rock star. Just own it. You know, I mean, just think it through and ask yourself if it gets you closer to the goal or if right now is not, you know, maybe you'll postpone that. Maybe you'll have that as a Joy Eat or some other time. Like, again, it just doesn't have to be an all or nothing deal. And even if you did, let's just say the worst case scenario, you're out with people and actually enjoying companionship around you, which is super important. I hope that if you did have a little of something, enjoy it.
Yeah.
And then just move on to the next meal. The problem is we get stuck in the guilt cycle, right? And then we don't start at the next meal. We kind of keep getting caught in the loop of that, beating up ourselves and being critical, right? So I think that's the important part. And I would also have to say, just, you know, you've got to learn to lighten up a little bit on yourself and have some fun along the way. I say to the folks that I'm coaching is that sometimes we're going to have some fun too.
What?
It's like, what
are you talking about?
I'm making changes. Yes, you will make changes, but, you know, lightening up a little bit and having some compassion and having some humor with yourself goes a long way too.
Yeah.
Doesn't
That's so
have
good.
to be.
I mean, it doesn't have to be so serious. We make the weight loss seem to be like this all serious, like all or nothing thing.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
you can actually enjoy the process and actually have fun along the way, which I think is so
Yeah.
awesome.
Well, and isn't that true? I mean, the journey is really the learning and finding out about yourself. And I often say this, and I have to say it again, but you have, you know, we all look at the before and the after picture.
Mm-hmm.
And we all just want that after picture now.
Oh,
But
yeah.
we want that after picture now, but we have to learn how to love the journey. Because in that journey, we find parts of ourselves that deserve us and need us and want us and make us the person that we are. And they deserve our acknowledgement along that journey too.
Right.
So, you know, that is the beauty. That's the gift. The gift is the journey and the opportunity with yourself. And if I could say again that the befores and after pictures, you know, it's wonderful, but you can almost bet that during those journeys, people fell down, got back up, and kept going. And that is the beauty of the journey, is the persistence and the consistency. And I will say that is one other aspect in our coaching time that was very important to me. Like, it wasn't perfect, but what I did know was show up, come to your appointment. And I say this to people all the time. When you've had the worst week is the most important time for you to come. When you've had, you know, a challenge, that is the most important time to come. All of the times are important to show up for yourself, because I am sure, and I've said this many times, I'm sure you would never think twice about blowing your friend off if you had an appointment with your friend or a commitment or an obligation with somebody else. Most often we're all pretty right on that.
Right.
So don't take away from your deservedness to have time for yourself and to show up for yourself.
Oh my gosh, that is so amazing. I love that. And I love that you tell that to your clients. By the way, you guys, just so you know, Andrea has showed up every single week to our calls. She showed up like she would do the work every day, send me journals every day. She is literally the image of persistence and consistency. I'm just like, she was amazing.
Yeah.
Like, she showed up for herself, even though coaching can be uncomfortable sometimes. She showed up every single week, and she was the example for her clients now. So Andrea, I know our time's coming to an end, but I do want to thank you so much for joining in. Like, you have so much wisdom and so much like pearls of knowledge to share with people. And I'm so happy that you're a coach and that you're helping people also reach their wellness goals.
And I just have to say too that I appreciated working and have worked with you, Charmaine, and you're just a beautiful person who stood in the gap with me on some really interesting conversations through our calls. And you have a wealth of just unconditional, like, consistent, beautiful support that you give people, and you have some really wonderful tools. So, like, it goes both ways. And that's why, you know what, you guys, I have to say this too, is that Charmaine has some really cool images and things on her page and her programming. And I love it because it just reminds us that we can have fun. And I think that's what stood out to me. What stood out to me a lot too was the colors. And when I think about, and when I think about living life, I think about the colors. We're not living in black and white. We're living in color. And Charmaine, you have beautiful colors and images. And I think that just draws that remembrance that life is to be colorful and to be lived and enjoyed, and not just be chained to limitations and limited beliefs. Oh
my gosh, that is so beautifully said. You make me feel so good about myself. I'm just like, yeah, I'm pretty awesome, huh? I have pretty pretty freaking cool images there. But I think it's so interesting because I get both feedback. I get feedback of like, oh, what, you shouldn't put the cookies and stuff there. Like that's triggering. Like people aren't, you're going to trigger people. And I'm like, hello, that's the point.
No, that is totally it, because you're saying, you got this. This
Right.
doesn't control you.
Yeah, exactly. We're just like, it's just a picture.
It's
like
just a
it's a cute
donut. It's
picture.
where, you know, it's fun because it's like, it's almost like we're giving it the raspberry. Like, you don't hold no power over me.
Oh yeah.
I make my choices. I make my decisions. And I think it speaks volumes. And, you know, you got this. You can handle anything. You can handle a donut.
Yes, you can. Anyone can handle a donut. Seriously, I promise you guys.
Yeah.
But thank you so much, Andrea. You have been so awesome. I had the most fun coaching you. Like, you're literally one of my favorites. Like, all our coaching sessions were so fun. And Andrea is just such a fun person to be around. So Andrea, can you let us know where we could find you? Like, where are you working? How can we reach you?
Yes. I work in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. I work at the Norwood Family Medical Walk-in Clinic. And I work for, the organization is called MD Lifestyle Solutions. And they also have a webpage, and it's mdlifestylesolutions.com. So that's where you can find me. And
what about any social media? Do you have any?
We do actually have a Facebook page. Right now it's just a private Facebook page we're just getting started back up over the COVID, after COVID. So we do have a Facebook page. I do have an Instagram account under Andrea Scott Consulting with a K, if anyone wants to reach me there. And certainly, you know, that's fine too, but it's mdlifestylesolutions.com.
All right. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Andrea, for joining me. Oh my gosh, it's such a great episode.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Bye, Andrea. Take care.
Take care.